Hey everyone, I am Icoso and I am making a new game. I am very excited. The idea is to make something small to hopefully, one day, maybe, possibly, just by chance get it onto the Steam platform. I've never done that before, but it would be really cool to think of myself as an actual game developer. Obviously, I'm not an actual game developer, and I have no idea what I'm doing with my life, but I guess there's no turning back now. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about the game, so I'm just going to do some quick lightning rounds here. Hopefully it clears some stuff up. 10 months ago, I made a game called Minima for the Blackthorn Prod Game Jam. It was a short little platformer, all black and white with very simple gameplay, and even though it was kind of a mess, people still seemed to enjoy it. And so I want to recreate it, but a lot better and also not made in 1 week. So here's the thing. It's not going to be special. I know that a 2D platformer isn't the most innovative idea in the world, and I honestly don't expect to get too many sales from it. For me, it's more about the experience rather than the money. That said though, the main selling point of Minima is that it's going to be quite calm and relaxing, at least I hope so. With the nice colours in the background and stuff, I just want the player to feel free and open while playing it. This is also going to limit the scope of the game because I want to keep everything in Minima really simple and have the player not need to think too much about their actions. You just go, jump, and have some fun. As I continue development of this project, you will see similarities between Minima and a lot of different games. For example, the primary aesthetic is inspired by Zane's project Reiterate, in the sense that it has a parallax scrolling background set mostly with monochrome colours. The simplicity of Minima is also inspired by the indie release 140, which is a rhythm-based, awesomely stylized platformer. I'm probably not going to make Minima a rhythm game, but I definitely will be analysing 140's structure. And obviously, games like Mario and Celeste have been great sources of creativity and solid level design. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into my planning. It's definitely not everything, but yeah. I'm also hoping to get some YouTube shorts out to talk about some smaller topics that I'll also be covering in these main devlogs, so keep an eye out for that. The player movement of Minima is really simple. The player can move left and right with little acceleration, you can jump once and then you can jump once more in the air. You can also do small hops and big hops depending on how long you hold the spacebar. Because the game is so simple, it's important to me that the player movement feels nice and fun to use, and to add on that, I've implemented what's known as a coyote timer. Basically, the player has a split second once they've left the ground to jump, and so it makes the player feel that they are better than they actually are. This makes the game feel just a bit more responsive and fairer to the player, especially so they don't end up smashing their laptop in rage at this calming platformer game. Because my brain cells do not line up in a way that makes me able to create good artwork, I'm approaching the graphics of this game with a lot of care. It's like I'm approaching another fellow teenager my age. The backgrounds by themselves is simply a set of blurred triangles laid one behind another, and I'll definitely incorporate different shapes to this style for more diversity later on. As I harnessed my inner Bob Ross, I made the lower layers darker than the ones above it. This happens in real life and it gives a sense of depth to the scene, along with the parallax scrolling effect to show different distances. This is, of course, a very early concept of what the background will be like, but I think it's a good start. Some other details that I've added are these particle effects when the player jumps and lands. This gives the action a little bit more impact. The player also squashes and stretches as they jump, which is another neat feature that I really like. This animation wasn't in the original version of the game, but I really wish it had been. In the background there are also some clouds and particles to break up the atmosphere just a little more. Again, this is all subject to change and probably will be modified quite a lot throughout development. Some of the features I've added into the game so far are firstly these jump pads. Once you spring off of them, you can jump one more time in the air and it gives you a lot more height than 2 jumps normally would. I also gave a quick animation to these platforms to let the player know that they are, yes, in fact, bonging into the stratosphere. I also added these generic semi-solid platforms too, and these will just help with the traversal of levels. Since the player can stand on top of them and go through from underneath, it makes a really helpful tool to get the player from where you want them to go. I've also modified this into a moving platform, which is a little buggy at the moment, but hey, what can you do? Probably the most fun feature I've added into the game so far is this dash circle thing. I don't know what to call it. But basically I can point them at any angle, and when the player comes in contact with them, they just zoom in that direction. I had to use a bit of trigonometry, and trust me, it should not have taken that long for me to figure out how to get it to work, but it's all good now and your jump gets restored after being zoomed, so you can jump one more time in the air. There'll be more gimmicks and mechanics added as development continues, maybe like gravity shifters and other things, I don't know, but I'm going to do my best at introducing these elements to the player slowly so they can learn the mechanics before mastering them and putting them to use. I'm also hoping to get a little bit of a storyline in. I can't say for sure, but I really do like story writing and I've never been able to put it into a game before. It definitely won't be the main focus of the game, but I'll talk about that more in a later video. For the music of the game, I haven't done any work on that yet, but I'm hoping to get Kanye to maybe drop some mad beats for it. Nah, I'm hopefully gonna make a calm soundtrack with some nice piano, guitar, and definitely some bongos, because they all go really well together. I'll probably get it out on Spotify as well. I'm hoping that each element of the game will just add to its relaxing nature, but of course there will be a speedrunning mode for those that just want to zoom as quickly as possible. I have a little bit of a timeline for this project, but as a student and Australian constantly getting mauled by kangaroos, there is no promises whatsoever that I can stick to this guide. However, I want to work on the game for about 6 to 12 months before getting a demo out, and then working on it for another 6 to 12 months after that. I know that this timeline is not very direct or useful for when the game is actually going to be released, but the biggest thing for me is that the game actually does get completed at some point. Whether it takes 1, 2, or 49 years, I'm just hoping to get it out someday. And of course, I'll hit some bumps across the road, whether that be lack of motivation, increase in schoolwork, and surely participating in game jams. It'll all take out time to work on Minima. I don't want it to stress me out too much though, and I'm hoping for this just to be a peaceful and enjoyable experience. I say this now, but I'm sure I'll be pulling my hair out in 6 months' time when I forget how to write simple code. I'll be sharing lots of videos and sneak peeks of the game over on my Discord server, link in the description if you want to join, and make sure you subscribe to know when I upload next. Please let me know your thoughts and ideas for the project in the comments below, I'd really love to hear them. You can also follow me over on Twitter, and if you're feeling super generous, you can check out my Patreon page for some exclusive content. On that note, I'd like to share my massive appreciation for my Patreon supporters, especially Icoso Dev, DerpyDino35, and Luat Games. You guys are awesome, and thank you for watching the video. I'll hopefully see you in the next one if I don't die in the meantime. Yep, that's a good way to end a video. See ya!